people of different walks of life. This is season 2, episode 5, where I'm collecting life lesson from a dear friend, from the founder of Bijili Bachao. I'll quickly tell you how do I know him before we jump into our conversation. So for all of you who know me personally, you know that as we were married, both Arun and I were staying in a rented apartment. They were the owners of that apartment, and we were fortunate to also probably take it from them after a while. And that's the home which has given us the most precious of memories, and they've been the kindest of owners. Especially in Bangalore, to have good owners is a very, very tough thing. I'm sure all of you agree with me. But yeah, we had fantastic owners. Manisha, his wife, has been extremely supportive, and Arun was staying there even before we got married. So we caught up, we spoke, and I was fascinated about their journey of how they started Bijli Bachao. I'm sure everybody who's joined here know what Bijli Bachao is. I don't even have to introduce that platform for all of you, because I think it has had its waves in the country where people have understood how to be conservative about energy, and not just for the sake of carbon footprint, but also to reduce their own electricity bills. I'm sure everybody goes and checks to figure out, okay, what's the right product? What can I do? How can I reduce my electricity bill? So thank you so much, Abhishek, for giving us your time and being here today.
Thanks, Rupalini. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. Abhishek, without further ado, I'm going to quickly jump in because we have quite a lot of questions to ask you from the fraternity and from my community. My
Sure.
first question is, why did you choose to start Bijli Bachao? Because I know you are a IIT Mumbai graduate. You are in a fantastic, lucrative job. You are doing extremely well in US. And from where did that happen? And from there to Bijli Bachao, why and how?
So, what after IIT, I started working with Deloitte Consulting, right? And this typically happens when you are fresh out of college, right? So you want to have the best and the most lucrative job, and that's what I got. And so initially, it was very exciting, right?
Yeah.
I was flying here and there, into interacting with people with multiple nationalities and whatnot.
Right.
But after a few years, I started feeling that I was missing something. I mean, like, okay, we are uh, uh, from IIT, right? So
Yeah.
we love solving problems, right?
Yeah.
And the more the challenge that we get, the more excited we get,
Right.
right? So uh, it was when I was in consulting, right? It was agreed I was solving problems mostly with corporates,
Yeah.
but somewhere I was having a feeling that okay, we are making a lot of money, but
Hmm.
what sort of impact are we creating on the society itself,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of it goes back to our background. Me and Manisha, both of us, right? We have
Right.
been from a very modest middle class families, right? And we
Right.
have always worked towards conserving resources, right? And we were always conscious about doing things properly, right? And being in IIT, we got a lot of exposure to different kind of world problems, right? So this is one thing that I always say that being in IIT, we were exposed to far bigger things and far
Right.
interesting problems,
Yeah.
and we knew that climate change is a big issue which humanity is facing, right?
Yeah.
We knew energy poverty is a problem in India and all of that, right? So I mean, these were the and several other things, right? So we were aware of different problems, and then when I was working in corporate, I just felt that I mean, I'm not solving bigger problems. These are very small problems that you're solving with a corporate, helping them
Yeah.
make some more profit. But
Right.
at the end of the day, what impact are you leaving on humanity, right?
Right.
So and doing a startup, doing something of my own was something which was there in my mind for a long time, because when I was in IIT, I did participate in some of the startups which were happening at that time
Right.
when I was in
Right.
college. right?
Yeah.
So I was exposed to them. I did feel the excitement of doing something of your own, right?
Yeah.
So that urge to do something was
Yeah.
there for a long time.
Yeah.
And it did materialize. I mean, like 2009, we came back from US to India,
Hmm.
right? And I was still exploring what to do, right?
Hmm.
And Manisha was into energy efficiency. She was already there doing stuff. She had worked for Terry, right?
Right.
So energy was one aspect which I was already exposed to, and in fact, that was a time when we purchased houses, right? So she made sure that we were putting the right appliances at the right kind
Hmm.
of appliances,
Hmm.
right efficiency and all that kind,
Yeah.
right? And I always used to wonder, oh, what benefit will you get by putting the
Right
efficient
appliance.
appliances, right
Yeah.
appliances? And I mean, being a curious engineer, I always used to think,
Right.
oh, what is it that you will get out of it, right?
Yeah.
And initially when we started observing our electricity bills,
Hmm.
and I saw that, I compared it with our neighbors and all the people around us,
Right.
and I realized that we were significantly low as compared to everyone else around, right?
Wow.
So I was like, okay, this is very interesting. A
Yeah.
lot of people should do it. I mean, it makes sense that people should do it.
Yeah.
Why is it that people are not doing it?
Right.
And we used to have a discussion. Me and Manisha used to have a discussion, and she used to tell that one of the problems that is there is that people do not have a source. People do not have information. There is no good source of information which is reliable, right?
Right.
Which people can trust,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, residential energy efficiency was something which was there in my mind also, because I mean, while our discussions, she would tell that, okay, there are energy auditors and energy companies which
Yeah.
work for corporates. But
But
in this
nothing
whole
for homes.
process, I realized that there's nothing for homes, right?
Right.
And the reason why, what we figured out was that there is no money to be made when you do residential energy efficiency. And I
Right.
was like, okay, I mean, I understand the problem that
Yeah.
the individual houses are very small units. Even if you
Right.
save some amount of money for them, how much can you make out of it? And I was like, I don't want to make money out of people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more about a larger cause that 40% electricity in India goes for
Wasted.
residential,
Yeah.
right? And if we can save some of it, why not, right? I
Right.
mean, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And that's when I was exploring more on ways to use IT, which was my background, right?
Hmm.
And combine efficiency in that, right? So I was exploring things around that. And somewhere around 2010, there was a Pan IIT event where a lot of IITians gathered together. They,
Right.
they, they were just discussing what sort of problems that India is facing and what can be possible solutions. And that was the time when I realized energy and education were the two areas where I could, which resonated with me, and where
Hmm.
there were difficult problems there out there,
Hmm. Hmm.
and problems there which needed creative solutions. So I thought,
Right.
why not do something related to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, initially, and initially, it took me some time to get started. In
Hmm.
fact, all these thought process started on from 2009, kept
Yeah.
going on till 2011. I was still continuing my job,
Yeah.
and I was not able to finalize on something, that what is
Right.
it that I want to do with my life, right?
Yeah.
And that is when I one day I thought that if I don't take a step, nothing
Hmm.
will happen. I'll keep continuing on this path. It's a
Yeah.
very comfortable thing. You make good
Yeah.
money as a consultant, right? And it's a comfortable life, but
Yeah.
it's not giving us satisfaction,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that is when 2011, I left my job.
Okay.
One fine day I just went and gave
You
a
just made the
resignation.
decision.
Just made a decision. Nothing was concrete. There was no idea in mind, no proper idea in mind. I mean, there was no concept of Bijili Bachao at that time. I mean, nothing
Wow.
like that,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
It was just a thing that, okay, I want to do something in energy or
Right.
maybe education. I don't know what I want to do. I am interested in residential energy efficiency. I
Yeah.
don't know how I will make it, but
Yeah.
if I don't leave my job, if I just continue doing it, I'll just continue doing it. So one fine day, I gave a resignation. For
Yeah.
next 1 month, I didn't do anything. In fact, I was in Bangalore at that time. I
Yeah.
went to a week-long Art of Living Part 2 course camp, right?
Right.
Did a lot of meditation out there,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then 2012 January, I started thinking, okay, let me now think, what do I need to do, right?
Right.
And it so happened, I'm on a very interesting lunch conversation that I had with a very old friend, right?
Yeah.
And we were meeting after a long time in that lunch
Yeah.
discussion, right? I mean, a common friend of ours had organized that lunch for all of us, all of us
Yeah.
friends. And I just met this guy who was my batchmate, but I
Hmm.
had not interacted with him for past 9 years, right?
Okay.
And he said, okay, I run a website where
Hmm.
which is a blog,
Hmm.
and it is able to generate decent revenues. I mean, it cannot make you a millionaire, but if you can sustain yourself, why not, right?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was the thought. I mean, like, if I can sustain myself, why not? I mean, if I can do something good, right?
Right. Hmm.
uh, it's okay. I mean, like, as long as I do good, and as long as I can live on that,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and do it. So
Right.
by that time, I had started visiting a lot of my friends, started measuring their houses, their appliances. So I
Hmm.
had some idea about appliances till that
Yeah.
time. So we just started putting it on a blog, and suddenly it caught up. I mean, and people from the media came to us, and
Yeah.
actually one reason for that was also that during that time there were a lot of IITians doing startup, and there was a lot of
Yeah.
buzz around
Yeah.
what they were doing,
Yeah.
right? And that's why it was very easy for me to get PR, press
Yeah.
releases done.
Right.
And suddenly people started, the press started flocking to us that, oh, what are you two guys doing in energy and
Right.
all. So we got a lot of visibility, though the intention was not to raise funding and all of that, because that was not something that I wanted to do. But
Yeah.
thankfully, that gave me a lot of visibility,
Yeah.
and Bijili Bachao took off. That's how it
Oh,
started.
wow. No, I actually felt I walked the journey with you, Abhishek, because you explained it so very well. And one point that I want to go back to and ask you on is a lot of people who might be listening to us right now or who will watch this video slightly later. I'm sure at some point of time we all feel, let's give up this job, let's do something that we are passionate about. And we want to start off a social enterprise, we want to venture into it. What is your word of advice for somebody who's just sitting in the corner? They're sitting on the fence, they don't know if to jump or not to jump. What should they keep in mind before jumping, or should they just jump?
Good question. Actually, I would not make it a social enterprise, or
Yeah.
frankly,
In
I'll
yeah.
make it a social enterprise and a commercial enterprise, I would say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For both of them, if you want to start a, right, you just have to make a decision one day that life is all about picking that one moment and deciding that this is not what I want to do, right? And you have to have conviction in yourself. You have to have conviction in your own abilities, right? That I can do something, right?
Mm,
I have that capability, right?
mm,
And I have that willpower to do that thing, right?
right.
And
Right.
it's a lot about. I mean, I keep talking to people about these three P's: passion,
Mm,
patience, and persistence. And I actually also add perseverance on that, right? So
yeah.
four P's I would put: passion,
Yeah.
patience, persistence, and perseverance, right?
Yeah.
So uh, passion, difficult to say what you're passionate about, because
Yeah.
that's a part of exploration process,
Yeah.
right? uh,
Yes.
uh, when you go out on a journey, right,
Huh.
it gives you a lot of learning as to what you like doing and what you don't like doing.
Hmm.
And interestingly, you will meet a lot of people who will give you an advice on what you should be doing. But the most important thing is to know what you exactly are made of, what you exactly are comfortable, right?
Hmm.
What you are good at, knowing your strengths is very important, that what is it that you're good at, right?
Right. Right.
And then it's about persistence and perseverance, right? So it's,
Hmm.
if you continue doing things for a long time,
Hmm.
right, things happen. I mean, like,
Yeah.
people have built tunnels in a mountain by just
Yeah.
digging in for years and years and years, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so I mean, one more quote which inspired me was
Yeah.
by Naukri.com founder Sanjeev Vikchandani,
Hmm.
that if you are really smart, you can make a business in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
If you are an average person, you can make a business in 10 years. Any dumb person can make a business in 15 years. So the point
Hmm.
is that you have to
You.
stay for 15 years. I mean, like, you have to have that kind of patience and
Yeah.
persistence and perseverance, that
Right.
you stay in doing something
Yeah.
and keep doing it, and it things just happen, right? It's
Right.
just about the intent, right,
Yeah.
and
And
the persistence.
nothing's impossible, right? So if we
Nothing is
want to, we can
impossible.
always
I
possible.
mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
think of something, you can get there. The only thing is that you have to be very practical in doing things. You don't have to be rigid. There is no single path to do something. There
Right.
can be multiple paths.
Yeah.
It's about taking one path, figuring out the different paths that are possible. If you hit a roadblock, you take the alternate path and figuring out how it goes. So you
Got
will
it.
keep, if you continue moving, you'll keep moving ahead,
Right. Right. It's
right?
just
The
about not stopping.
Just not stopping, right? So the
Right.
moment you stop, you stop, basically.
Got it.
Yeah.
And my next follow-up question to what you said now, Abhishek, is
Mhm.
yeah, now let's say, I understood patience, persistence, perseverance, and passion, most importantly. Let's say all of this is telling me go ahead, pick it up,
Mhm.
do it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I have my EMIs, I have my list of things that I think I've gotten into a vicious cycle. Let's say, I'm already in that cycle of what if my lifestyle changes? What if, I have to make compromises? So do those fears come in, and when those fears come in, how do I differentiate between is this okay or is this not okay when I'm fearful about a lifestyle? How do I make that choice? Because if that is a decision making point, I
Okay.
hope you got what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
The thing is that, I mean, thankfully, when I started, I had a good backing from my experience in US,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
I cannot relate to a situation where I would have had EMIs,
Right.
right? So,
Or let's say anything, let's not
but
just
but
say
but
EMI. Yeah,
but what there's always a fear, because I by that time my elder one was born, right?
hmm.
And his schooling was there, so his
Right.
education was definitely one of the priorities that we had, right?
Yeah.
But what we did was, we figured, when I started off, and incidentally my wife Manisha also left her corporate job at that time, so that's
Whoa.
another different story,
Yeah.
right? So both of us had left our jobs,
Yeah.
and what we did was, we sat down and we calculated what is the minimum amount of money that is required for us
Hmm.
to survive, to
Right.
exist in this world. What is the
Right.
minimum amount of money that is required? We
Yeah.
did that calculation, right? And
Yeah.
then we started looking at our sources. So she started a PhD, so she was getting some stipend, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, we had a house that you
Yeah.
guys were living in,
Yeah.
right? So we just accumulated all those teeny weeny bits of money,
Right.
and realized, okay, this is the minimum amount that I need to survive. And
Wow.
we made sure, I mean, one thing that we decided, consciously decided, that we do not want we do not enjoy extravagance, basically. So that's
Hmm.
something that I should say, it's my personality, that I mean, I don't look for having bigger cars or fancy gadgets and all of that,
Right.
right? So
Right.
we usually, until and unless we have that kind of comfort, we don't go beyond our means.
Right. Right.
right?
So
So
what I hear from you, what you're saying, Abhishek, is to differentiate between a need and a want, right? You're
exactly.
saying know what your needs are, and if you
Uh-huh.
can take care of those needs, then your wants will be fulfilled somewhere down the line. We just have to segregate that and make sure that we know, okay, I don't want the extravagant part, but I know that these are my basic needs which has to be taken care of, which I have to keep in mind while I make that decision.
Exactly. So to give you an idea, I mean, like
Yeah.
when we started off Bijili Bachao, initially for
Hmm.
first 5 years, I would say that whatever we were making, in fact, for first 2 years, there was absolutely zero revenue, right?
Right.
And it is very tough for anyone who is making a lot of money in corporate, right, to come
Yeah.
down to a zero salary,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the first check that I got was for 5,000 rupees for a month, for a month, right? And
Yeah.
my sister stays in US,
Hmm.
so I remember having a conversation with her that
Yeah.
I mean, is this why you left your job? And I was like, okay, I don't know. I mean, I just felt like doing something, right?
Right.
And I wanted
Right.
to do something different.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I may succeed or I may not succeed,
Yeah.
but I like doing it, right?
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
enjoying whatever I'm doing. It's
Yeah.
it's not a big money, but
Yeah.
having said that, it took 5 years to come to a decent level, and I would not say that it was, uh, I mean, extravagant. But after
Yeah.
5 years, I started personally taking out decent enough money so that our
Yeah.
expenses are
Everything is
taken
taken
care.
care.
And even till now, I think most of the time we're just thinking of, okay, can I take care of my expenses this month?
Yeah.
Business goes, I mean, revenue goes
Yeah.
down. So the only thought that comes in my mind is like, okay, I need to just make 50,000 rupees a month, and that should be good
Right.
for
Right.
for
Yeah.
for everyone to survive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, that thought process keeps going. That okay, what is the need that we have, and what are the wants that we have, right?
Got it.
If I can survive doing this stuff, I can survive. I mean, I can fulfill my needs. I can
Right.
keep doing it. If I
Right.
cannot, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Then I have to think of a solution for that. Not
Solution of
not
doing it.
leave this, but think of a solution
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
Got it. So, what I want to understand from what you said, Abhishek, is I think in your head, the definition of success and failure is something else. Because usually, when we look at any companies, I've seen people measuring it by the revenue that they're making or how much money did they raise, stuff like that. So, what is your definition of success then, Abhishek? How do you define that, you're a successful person, or you, or let's say, what is your definition of failure? The reason I ask you this is a lot of us are driven by money. If money is not what defines success for you, then what defines success for you, Abhishek?
Success for me is freedom, I would say. Freedom of doing things what I like doing
Yeah.
and at my own pace, obviously,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So one thing we consciously decided was never to raise funding for our venture, right?
Hmm.
This was also
Yeah.
because I never wanted to be in a situation where I have to work at someone else's pace,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, it's freedom and getting challenging problems to solve, because I mean
Yeah.
that's what gives me excitement, that if I am solving difficult things, when I'm learning new things on my own,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
uh, and when I'm sharing, so this is one of the mottos of my life, is that learn and share, right?
Yeah.
Learn as much as possible and share that knowledge with people,
Right.
right?
Right. Got
So
it.
as long as I'm learning, as long as I'm sharing that information, uh, and I'm feeling excited that I'm solving some problems
Yeah.
in that process, right? I feel good about it, and I feel that if I am able to do that all my life, I'm successful, right?
Right.
If for me, failure is when I personally give up, right? If I stop doing something, right?
Hmm.
not because of financial reasons, but because I just don't have energy left to do something, right?
Right.
And I'm not doing it, then I feel a little sad. But having said that, I don't think anything is a failure. I mean, just
Yeah.
it's good to look at the positive sides, because even when you stop doing something, or if you're not able to do something, that's
Yeah.
also a lesson. I mean, you learn from every
Yeah.
issue, the every challenge that you face in life. Because if frankly, if you are not facing enough challenges, you're not learning enough,
Very true. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's
So
very true,
so
Abhishek. Yeah.
so more challenges you face, and if you give up, that also makes you learn something, that
Learn
okay,
something for the next time.
yeah, for the next time, I should look at these things before I do something like
Right, got
that,
it.
right?
In
So
fact, I want to
yeah.
reiterate what you told to everybody who's watching us now. Is I think this is a beautiful definition of success, what you said. I think success can be defined in our own ways. We don't have to go by the societal norms of saying it is usually money or your standard of living. You can decide saying, this is how I want to measure it. Like what Abhishek is doing, we can decide saying, okay, for me, success means freedom. For me, success means me being able to do what I want to do. And it's just about we switching it off in our head of saying, I'm not going to let somebody else decide this definition of success to me. I will define it for myself.
So,
And I
so,
think, yeah,
so
yeah,
here I
go
want
ahead.
to add that I mean, when you go out on your journey, right?
Yeah,
Uh, it's important to understand that it is your journey, but
right.
you're still part of a larger society, or larger ecosystem, right?
Yes.
Now, when you are part of society, when you are part of ecosystem, you get to hear a lot of voices. I mean, and
Mm.
these are people who may know you, may not know you, may wish well for
May
you, may
also be
not,
your well wishers.
may also be your well wishers, right? So you get a lot of comments, you'll get a lot of feedback. So someone will come and tell you that, why don't you do this? Because so when I started Bijili Bachao, my family members who were well wishers, right?
Yeah,
uh, they would come and say, oh, I have connection with Madhya Pradesh Electricity Board, why don't you take pick project over there
yeah,
and do it? And I would think, thank you for saying that. I know you are a well wisher, but
yeah,
this is not something that I want to do,
yeah.
right? So it's very important to know what you want to do, what you are comfortable at, right?
Right.
But then there are well wishers, there are people, everyone wants you to succeed,
Yeah,
right? But at the end of the day, it's you who should decide what is it that you want to do. And so it's very important to uh, be selfish, but still be part of the ecosystem, right?
got it.
So
Yeah,
think
yeah,
think think good for everyone else around you, but
yeah.
in some matters, be selfish, and
Right.
think about what you want to do and what
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
you
it's
feel good
it's I
about.
think it's mostly like create that proper filter of what you really want to take and not want to take. But even before creating the filter, create your zone, create your core of saying, this is who I am. Understanding that this is who I am is what defines my success. And the moment I know my success, I don't think there is anything which will be called as failure, because I'm actually doing what I really love to do. And I think that's what life is about, right? We
Exactly.
are passionately just doing whatever that we want to do. And
Mm.
just because somebody defines it as failure does not have to be taken as failure. And I think Abhishek beautifully said that, saying, even what you take it as a failure probably is a lesson that you learned, which you will keep it for a lifetime. And failure probably is only when you give up, not when you meet a dead end, not when somebody else compares you to something else and says, okay, you failed. So I think that understanding is very, very important. Thank you for those wise words, Abhishek.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, Abhishek, my next question is, let's say, now I have this understanding. I
Mhm.
understood when to start. I understood that, this is how I have to measure my success and my failure. Going further, let's say I'm in 1 year, I've been putting effort for 1 year or 1.5 year in my startup, in whatever that I'm working on. And I feel it's a dead end. I feel I'm not able to go further. I feel like a dip. And what do I do then? When I know, okay, when I've been consistently putting effort, but I'm not able to see results, is it time to give up? Is that the time that I should give up, or what should I do when I hit a dead end?
So this is something that I tell everyone who talks to me about startups, right?
Yeah.
That forget startups. I mean, I should not say startups. It's about doing your own stuff, right?
Hmm.
Now, I you hit a dead end when you feel a dead end only when you're very rigid in your path,
Right.
right? That this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it, and this is how I will achieve the place where I want to go. I'll get to the place where I want to go, right?
Right.
But if you are agile, and I mean, I'm bringing in a lot of IT terminology because that's the background that I come from.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in tech IT, right, we talk about waterfall model and agile
Yes. Yeah.
development, right? So you hit a dead end when you are going in a waterfall mode. You have
Hmm.
defined that this is how things are, this is
Right.
how
And you know
it'll
the
be,
destination, and you
and you know
want
the
it to be there.
destination, this is you want to be there, right? And we have all seen in IT projects that it occasionally works, it doesn't work always,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
uh, what matters when you're doing a project or a process or a passion project,
Yeah.
right? That you have to be very agile in that. So it's
Hmm.
like you go out, you do a small experiment, right? You do a
Right.
small prototype, you take it to the people. I'm
Yeah.
not saying market, I can say market. I mean, in startup terms, you can say take it to the market,
Yeah.
right? I feel better when I say take it to the
People.
people,
Yeah.
right? Take it to the people, see how they react, right?
Yeah.
You get some learnings out of it, that this is something that works, this is something that does not work, right?
Hmm.
So every time you do an experiment, you figure out 10 different paths that you can follow,
Right.
right? Now what is important is to figure out what are the different paths that are there, which path do you like taking, because it's also a lot about your comfort, right, and
Hmm.
your interest. So when I started Bijili Bachao, people from energy sector used to think that I'm an IT person, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of people from that sector would come to me and say, can you make a website for me? I was like, no, I know I can make websites, but that is not what I wanted to do, right?
Right. Hmm.
And people from who were not from energy sector used to think that I'm an energy auditor,
Hmm.
right? They would come and tell me that, can you audit my industry, can you audit my commercial setup,
Yeah.
right? And I would say, sorry, I don't do that professionally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what happens is, when I started doing this, so there are paths. So I
Hmm.
could, if I wanted, I could have possibly become an energy auditor. If I wanted, I could have possibly
Become
taken
a
up
web.
a
Yeah.
IT route, right?
Yeah.
But so when you venture out, you see lot of opportunities.
Hmm.
The best part about doing your own stuff is that you have so many paths open that you
Avenues.
can
Yeah.
never hit a dead end, right?
Yeah. Right.
So whenever you feel that one particular path is not, you're not able to go ahead on a particular path, just look at the on the
Other
side, look on the
things.
side, you will find
Yeah.
six other paths which can possibly take you at the same place.
Right, got it. In fact, I think this is beautiful, Abhishek. Be it any problem, while you were talking this, I was just thinking about even just small little life problems. I think
Mhm.
that's how we can actually deal with it, right? When I'm actually hitting a dead end of thinking, okay, this cannot be done. This is a big problem that I've had in my life. I can choose to stand there and cry, or I can choose to just look, take a look on the other side and figure out if there is a way that I can cross this barrier in a different way. I don't
you
have
you
to
you you,
fight
you
it.
know whenever you hit a problem in life, right, you
Mm,
always at that moment you feel that the world has come to an end, right?
yeah,
But if you sit peacefully, think through it, maybe sleep over the problem, as to
right.
uh, give it some time, right?
Yeah,
Take a break, go on a vacation and come back, which is what I
yeah,
did when I left my job. I just 1 month I just gave a break to
right,
myself,
right.
right? So sometimes a lot of these solutions come with time when you give enough thoughts to it, right? So there's never a dead end. I mean, I don't think there is ever a dead end. It's always uh, a, a barrier in between,
Yeah.
right? You just need to find a path. Maybe you have the power, good enough power to just break that barrier, right?
Right.
Or
Yeah.
if you realize that you don't have that much power, you maybe find an alternate route. As simple
Right.
as that.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. Also, Abhishek, that reminds me to remind my community here saying if any of you have any questions for Abhishek, please go ahead and put it in the chat there. I will pick up those questions and ask him, and I'll make sure that your questions are answered and we get all the valuable life lessons from him. And this also reminds me to tell you saying today, whatever Abhishek is sharing, at the end of the session, I would want you to share what did you learn from Abhishek? What are the life lessons that you are taking back from this session? And the one who articulates it well, I don't want to say the one who gets it right, because I think we all get different versions of what's being spoken, right? So the one who can articulate it well and put down most of the points that we discussed today will win for themselves this book of How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, one of the books to have. Abhishek was just mentioning to me
I
before the
have
call that
this
he also has it.
in front of me right now.
Right. Yeah. So I think this is one go to book that we all should have. I will make sure that this is shipped to you if you make sure that you answer the question for me in the comment section below. And if you have a question for Abhishek, also please go ahead and put it out there. I will take the question in a couple of minutes. Abhishek, my next question to you. You
Mhm.
read so much for Bijili Bachao, and today I know how big an entity it's become and how much people rely on it because it's not fake reviews, it's all true reviews that you give it out there. What have you received from Bijli Bachao, Abhishek? Let's say, 10 years before,
Uh-huh.
when Abhishek was at a point, if you did not take that turn, if you did not make that decision, if you did not resign,
Mhm.
how would Abhishek have been then? I mean, how would Abhishek have been now? And from when you started Bijli Bachao till now,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
have you received from Bijli Bachao? What is your takeaway?
A lot of things. As I said, I mean, doing a startup and all the four P's and all those things that I talked about, those are all part of the learning, right?
Yeah,
But you also mentioned social enterprise, right? And
yeah,
which is what I would want to highlight that, especially when you are doing something where profit is not a motive, but a social cause is a better uh, idea, right?
right,
So, so in that, uh, you go through a lot of emotions. I mean, any social startup is a roller coaster,
right,
but especially with something doing something social, right?
yeah,
It has a lot of, I mean, highs and ups and lows that you
yeah,
go through, right? And in fact, it has been a super roller coaster ride for me for past 9 years,
yeah,
and with really high highs and really low lows, right?
yeah,
There have been times when I was like, I'll give it up. I mean, I
yeah,
can do it, right?
yeah,
And I still have that. I mean, like a lot of times I tell Manisha that, oh, I can't continue doing this
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah,
But what I have learned is that, I mean, like whenever someone comes back and someone absolutely unknown, right,
yeah,
comes back and tells you that, oh, I'm a big fan of yours. I saw your website and I learned so much from it. I have actually taught 10 different people about what I learned from your website. And
yeah,
that is the moment when you feel, oh, you did make some impact, right?
right,
Those
right,
positive moments where you get absolutely unbiased praise, right,
yeah,
from someone who you don't know about,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Someone coming in randomly. I was in Chennai last year, I think. Yeah, last year I was there in Chennai giving a presentation in one of the conferences,
hmm.
and suddenly they were like, I mean, five young people. I mean, for me they were all young because I was 38, 39 that time, and these were all 22, 23 years
Yeah,
old kids,
yeah,
right? These five, six kids, they come and gather around me, and they are like, oh, we are big fan of yours. We learned so
Yeah.
much from your website. It helps in our daily work. And I was like, oh wow, this gives me
Yeah.
satisfaction. No amount of money, no amount of uh, uh, I mean, material things can give you the kind of pleasure
Yeah.
when someone comes and tells that whatever you have done has been extremely useful for them.
Yeah, right. And I think that's what an entrepreneur gets to experience when compared to every other employee, be it a CEO or a COO. I think the difference for an entrepreneur is this, that he or she created that ripple effect of goodness in the world. They
Exactly,
added a
exactly.
drop and then it became massive. You don't even know where, how, who is getting touched.
And you know, when I look at it, when I look at my website and when I look at my work, I feel, oh, I could have done a lot better. This is not something that, I mean, I should have done. I should have put in more efforts. This is not
That's
a
the
good
humble
product,
Abhishek talking, but we all
right?
like your website.
And people will come back and tell me that this is a immensely useful website, and I'm like,
It is.
okay,
Yeah.
I never realized that it is like that.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I mean, that gives a lot of positive, a lot of good feeling, and this actually helps you to continue. And with a social enterprise, it's always money is always a challenge. I mean, money,
Right.
as in I make, uh, as far as sustaining yourself is concerned,
Yeah.
that is easy. But
Yeah.
if you want to grow the initiative, that is when you hit a lot of challenge. If your numbers are not big, I mean, and which is what happens with a social enterprise.
Right.
So
Right.
you will not get easy money from venture capitalists every time.
Yes.
You'll have to go to a foundation, and foundation will say that, oh, we can only give you
Only do this much.
this much money, and you have
Yeah.
to be a not for profit, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I be a not for profit, and if I take funds from you, you will give a tiny bit of funds,
Yeah.
but I'll not be able to sustain myself on this
Right.
for long. And
Yeah.
if I generate my own money, that's better for me, right?
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
all those
That makes
challenges are
sense.
there,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
what I learned, certainly.
Yeah. No, I'm sure, Abhishek. I think one most important thing that you mentioned is it need not have to actually be a social enterprise itself. It can be something where you're genuinely putting effort to make a change, and there's nothing wrong in making money out of it because it's your hard work, it's your effort. You can always go ahead and pursue it. So, all of you who are listening, I hope you know all these lessons from Abhishek you've taken back. I'm going to be announcing the winner on Thursday, sorry, on the next Tuesday, where we would be connecting back for another Tune and Talk. So, all of you who've joined us today, join us on Tuesday to figure out who won that award, because I think Abhishek has dropped quite a lot of gems and treasures for us to take back from his life. Abhishek, my last question to you before we end: in this entire journey, have you come across an act of kindness which has impacted massively to you and you want to bring it up and share it with all of us? Is there an act of kindness that you want to share with us?
I mean, there are a lot of things that happen,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
one thing that I am personally proud of, right? So when you do a social entrepreneurship, your funds are always a challenge, right? So
Right.
you try to minimize the expenses, right? So
Yes.
we always hired people uh, with the lower with not so good backgrounds. So
Right.
I hired this one guy who came in for data entry job because he was
Hmm.
just a BCom, and he lives in a slum in Mumbai, right? From a
Hmm.
very poor background, right?
Hmm.
And and he has been with us for past 5 years now.
Yeah.
And the way he has grown from a data entry guy, he came in, and then we realized that he's good at drawings. So we started getting him into some sort of image and visuals, right?
Wow.
And then he eventually grew up to become our animator. So we have I mean, I have another initiative called Science ABC, where he
Right.
makes animations for us, right?
Wow.
So from what background he came in, to from what salary he started off, now he makes such good amount that he would have
Yeah.
never imagined, never have dreamt of making that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
money, right? So although for a person like us, one would think that oh, he's making a very modest money, but for his person
Right.
of his caliber and his
Yeah. Yeah.
capabilities, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he grew up. I feel proud seeing people grow up with us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and we have so many people
And I'm
work from
sure he's a part of your success, right? I don't think that he's not.
he's
Yeah.
definitely a part of my success, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons I'm where I am because of there are these 3 4 people who have been with me for
Yeah.
past so many years,
Yeah.
all of them coming from a very humble background, but
Yeah.
finding talent and retaining them and nurturing them and making them grow with you,
Right.
that gives a different level of sense of achievement, I would say.
Wow. I think, today, for all of us who are listening, not just for people who are listening, for me, Abhishek, I think I'm going to have a very sound sleep to know that founders care and worry about the employees, because it's very rare to find founders who say, when I think of an act of kindness, my employee has done a difference to my life. I've never heard people say this. I've collected quite a lot of life lessons, but I think that's the most valuable life lesson, valuable kindness act that I could think of, saying, your employees are kind to you and they've made you who you are. Thank you so
Exactly.
much for that, Abhishek. And with that, we come to the end of our conversation today. Before we close, let me quickly give you an introduction of what we're going to do on 22nd, which is our next tune and talk for all of you who've joined us. We are going to be collecting life lessons from another dear friend. I didn't know how to even call that life session as, because I feel if I define him, I think I'm doing a mistake, because I'm putting a boundary around him. I think in true essence, he's a human. So I just said, life lessons from a real human. Please do come listen to him, because he's also another fantastic guy who's made quite a lot of difference to himself and to the society. He's been learning quite a lot. He says, I respect a snail. He followed an orange, gave up a lucrative job to do something. And then today he is what he is because he followed an orange. I don't want to clearly explain what it is, but I want you to join us on the 22nd to figure out what that story is, because one fantastic life lesson that you will for sure take back from there. And Abhishek, thank you so much for coming here and for sharing all these
Thanks.
valuable lessons with us. It was great knowing an IITian can also think like this. It was wonderful to see your true self, not covering it, not telling us any fancy stories, but telling us the reality. Thank you for touch basing on multiple factors and showing us what it means to succeed, what it means to fail, for telling us when to start, how to start, and also for being very humble and grounded and taking care of yourself and your people and your society in the best way possible. I hope you had a nice time being with us today, and
Sure,
thank you
sure.
so much,
Thanks.
Abhishek.
Thanks a lot for inviting me, Kripalini.
Thank you, Abhishek. With
Thank you.
that, we come to the end of our session today. Until I see you on the 22nd, sending you all loads of love and hugs. Thank you so much for joining. See you all. Bye bye.